It's Monday morning. You're sitting in a conference room with 30 other employees. The walls are covered with motivational posters, value statements, mission declarations. Everyone's wearing the company colors. Some have branded water bottles, laptop stickers, t-shirts. A leader stands at the front, charismatic, energetic. They ask, "Who here is proud to be part of this family?" Hands shoot up, applause, cheers. "Who here believes we're changing the world?" More applause, louder this time. "Who here would do anything for this team?" The room erupts. You clap along, because not clapping would be noticed. And as you look around at the smiling faces, the synchronized enthusiasm, the unquestioning devotion, a thought crosses your mind. This feels like a cult. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It is. Your office might be the most successful cult ever built, not in the traditional sense. No compounds, no robes, no charismatic guru promising enlightenment. But the psychology, identical. Cults and corporations use the same mechanisms: hierarchy, ritual, ideology, identity control, social pressure, psychological manipulation designed to extract loyalty, suppress dissent, and make members prioritize the group over themselves. The difference? Corporations are legal, accepted, celebrated. And because you're getting paid, you don't realize you're being indoctrinated. Let's start with structure. Every cult has a hierarchy. Leaders at the top who set the vision. Middle management enforcing ideology. Members at the bottom competing for approval and advancement. Sound familiar? Corporate hierarchies function the same way. Executives are untouchable. Middle managers enforce compliance. Employees compete for recognition, promotions, and access to leadership. Just like in cults, proximity to leadership equals status. FaceTime with the CEO. Invitations to exclusive meetings. These aren't just professional opportunities. They're validation. Proof that you're one of the chosen ones. And just like in cults, dissent is discouraged. Not banned outright. That would be too obvious. But made socially costly. Question a decision in a meeting. You're not a team player. Push back on unrealistic expectations. You lack commitment. Suggest the company's mission statement is empty corporate speak. You don't fit the culture. Culture. That word does a lot of work. In cults, it's called doctrine. In corporations, it's called culture. But the function is the same. A shared belief system that defines acceptable thoughts and behaviors. And culture isn't just stated, it's performed. Think about corporate rituals, weekly all-hands meetings, team-building exercises, quarterly off-sites, annual conferences. These aren't just logistical necessities, they're bonding rituals, designed to create shared experiences, reinforce group identity, and remind everyone that they're part of something bigger than themselves. Cults use chanting, group prayer, and communal activities. Corporations use icebreakers, trust falls, and synchronized mission statement recitations. Different aesthetics, same psychology. Then there's ideology. Every cult has a mission, a narrative about why the group exists and what makes it special. Members aren't just people, they're believers, chosen, part of a movement that will change the world. Corporations do this too. They don't just sell products or provide services. They disrupt industries. They empower communities. They're mission-driven and purpose-led. And employees aren't just workers. They're team members, brand ambassadors, culture carriers. This language isn't accidental. It transforms a transactional relationship, labor for money, into an identity. You're not just employed by the company. You are the company. And once your identity is fused with the organization, leaving feels like losing yourself. This is where the real manipulation begins. Cults don't start with control. They start with love. Remember love bombing? The overwhelming affection and acceptance used to hook new recruits? Corporations do this at onboarding. You're welcomed like family, given branded merchandise, assigned a mentor, included in social events. Everyone's excited you're here. Everyone wants to know you. It feels amazing. After the isolation and stress of job searching, you're suddenly part of something, valued, celebrated. But just like in cults, the love is conditional. It lasts as long as you're useful, as long as you comply, as long as you produce. Miss a deadline, the warmth cools. Push back on extra hours, you're not committed. Question leadership, you're a culture problem. The love you received at the start becomes a weapon. You feel guilty disappointing the people who welcomed you. You feel obligated to prove you belong. So you work harder, longer. You sacrifice boundaries, personal time, health, because the alternative, losing the group's approval, feels unbearable. This is trauma bonding in a corporate package. Let's talk about loyalty. In healthy relationships, personal or professional, loyalty is earned through mutual respect and reciprocity. In cults, loyalty is demanded and enforced through guilt, social pressure, and the threat of exile. Corporations do this subtly. They talk about being a family, but families don't lay you off when quarterly profits dip. Families don't ask you to relocate and then eliminate your position 6 months later. The family rhetoric is strategic. It exploits your emotional need for belonging while avoiding the reciprocal obligations actual families have. You're expected to be loyal, to sacrifice for the team, to put the company first. But the company's loyalty to you, conditional, temporary, based on productivity and market conditions. This asymmetry creates cognitive dissonance. You notice the contradiction, but you suppress it, because acknowledging it would mean admitting you've been manipulated. So instead you rationalize. Every company is like this. At least I have a job. I'm building my career. You've invested time, energy, identity. Walking away would mean admitting that investment was misplaced. This is the sunk cost fallacy in action. You stay not because it's good for you, but because you've already given so much. And corporations know this. They encourage investment early, stock options that vest over years, titles that mean nothing outside the company, internal language and processes that don't translate elsewhere. The more invested you are, the harder it is to leave, just like a cult. Then there's groupthink. When everyone around you believes the same thing, dissent becomes psychologically difficult. You start doubting your own perception, wondering if you're the problem. In corporate environments, groupthink is maintained through meeting dynamics. Have you ever been in a meeting where a bad idea was proposed and everyone nodded along? Where concerns were obvious but nobody spoke up? That's groupthink, enabled by power dynamics, social pressure, and the fear of being labeled difficult. Dissenters are punished, not overtly, through isolation, exclusion from projects, being left off email chains, subtle signals that you're no longer trusted. So people stay silent, agree publicly while disagreeing privately, and the organization makes terrible decisions because nobody's willing to challenge leadership. This is how corporate scandals happen. Enron, Theranos, Wells Fargo, WeWork. In every case, employees knew something was wrong, but speaking up meant career suicide, losing the group, being branded a traitor. So they stayed silent, participated, rationalized, just like cult members who see the abuse but can't leave because their entire life is embedded in the group. The psychology is identical. Blind obedience to authority, suppression of individual judgment, group loyalty over personal ethics. And when the company collapses, when the fraud is exposed, employees are shocked. I had no idea. I was just doing my job. Everyone else was doing it too. The same defenses used by cult members, by war criminals, by anyone who surrendered moral autonomy to a group. So what do? How do you work in modern organizations without losing yourself? First, recognize the mechanisms. You're not immune to social pressure or identity manipulation, but awareness makes you less vulnerable. Second, maintain outside identity. Don't let your job become your entire self. Cultivate relationships, hobbies, and communities outside work. This gives you perspective, reminds you that you exist beyond your role. Third, question mission statements. If a company claims to be changing the world, ask, whose world? Who benefits? Who's harmed? Real missions have trade-offs. If everything sounds universally positive, you're hearing marketing, not strategy. Fourth, notice the cost of dissent. Healthy organizations welcome pushback. They reward people who identify problems. If your workplace punishes questions or marginalizes critics, that's a red flag. Fifth, set boundaries. Saying no doesn't make you disloyal. It makes you sustainable. If you're expected to sacrifice health, relationships, or ethics for the company, you're in a cult, not a career. And sixth, remember it's a transaction. You provide labor. They provide compensation. Anything beyond that, loyalty, identity, devotion, is optional and probably being exploited. This doesn't mean be cynical. You can care about your work, take pride in contributions, build genuine relationships with colleagues, but don't confuse a job with a family, a paycheck with a purpose, employment with identity. Because when the market shifts, the company restructures, or leadership changes, you'll be reminded very quickly that loyalty only flows one direction. The corporate cult succeeds because it doesn't look like a cult. It looks like ambition, success, belonging. It promises meaning, community, and impact. And it delivers just enough to keep you hooked. But understanding the psychology, recognizing the manipulation, gives you something cults can never allow. Choice. The choice to participate without surrendering autonomy. The choice to contribute without losing identity. The choice to work ethically in systems designed to extract obedience. You don't have to quit your job to resist corporate cult dynamics. You just have to remember who you are when you're not at work, and refuse to let anyone, no matter how charismatic, successful, or powerful, convince you that you're nothing without them. Because you're not a believer. You're a person with a job. And that distinction might be the most important boundary you ever set.